What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. So today I'm bringing to you my top 10 side deck cards for the May 2020 format. Due to the nature of the online environment, the metagame is evolving more rapidly than ever before, and I want to make sure you guys are up to date on the most common cards played both in the side deck that you might want to play for yourself, or that you might expect to see at the top tables of some of these online tournaments. And speaking of which, if you're looking to play in some online tournaments, we have the Pro Play Tour Weekend Championship this weekend and every weekend during quarantine that you guys can compete in for some incredibly big prize money. I don't know why you guys aren't already signed up. I will be commentating these every once in a while, so if you haven't already, be sure to click the link down below to sign up for this weekend's championship. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, even though these cards are numerically ranked, they don't necessarily follow a particular order. I guess if you were to assign an order to them, it would be in terms of like frequency of occurrence based off of like the past month's worth of side decks, and I guess impact to a degree as well. But for the most part, these cards could fall anywhere, but they are the most occurring cards in most of the top side decks. So starting off with number 10, we have a bit of a niche one, but one that still does see quite a bit of play, being Cimoooooooo in tandem with Barrier Statue of the Torrent. This is incredible for going up against any of these Needle Fiber centric combo decks, because as soon as Needle Fiber hits the field and special summons that tuner out of the deck, you can summon out the Uka. Uka can then target the Needle Fiber because it is a water, get Barrier Statue of the Torrent, and if your opponent doesn't have a way to deal with this combo, then basically their turn is going to be over. They can't special summon anything but waters, which they're pretty much not going to be playing any of in their extra deck. It's a card that at first took a lot of people by surprise. We saw it in the Crush Card Cup, and then a lot of other tournaments after that started trying to incorporate it. It's not seeing a huge degree of play, but it is still something that can catch a lot of people off guard, and if you manage to pull it off, you're probably going to sneak away with a few wins. So bear in mind, it is still around, but it's not as popular as you might think. Now that brings us on to number 9, and number 9 is actually a brand new card that started seeing play as of this past weekend at the time of recording this video, and that is Token Collector. I think I did a video on Token Collector when it was first announced like a couple years ago, so let's go ahead and do a bit of a refresher for the effect of Token Collector. Token Collector reads, if a token is special summoned except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from the graveyard if it was there when this token was special summoned, or hand even if not. You can only use this effect of Token Collector once per turn. If this card is special summoned, destroy as many tokens on the field as possible, and if you do, this card gains 400 attack for each token destroyed. Neither player can special summon tokens. So this card is starting to see play for a few reasons, and this card has seen a little bit of fringe play in the past, but of all times for this card to be relevant, I think this is definitely one of them. Think about how many cards there are in the meta right now that produce tokens. I mean, you have Linkross, you have Auroradon, you have Mecha Phantom Beast Olion. The list goes on, and these tokens are what enable these combo decks to do these absurd plays, like drawing numerous cards, ending on stuff like Borreload Savage Dragon or Herald of the Arclight, or even True King of All Calamities. Token Collector is unique because it is a card that specifically goes after token monsters. Go figure, right? I mean, what's so cool about it is that at any point when your opponent has numerous tokens on the field, you can trigger Token Collector from either your hand or graveyard. That's important because if you happen to pitch it or mill it in some way, it's still going to be able to be used, but then you could also nuke all the tokens on the board. The attack gain is trivial, it really doesn't matter too much, but most importantly, not only are you clearing the board of tokens, but your opponent cannot special summon any other tokens for as long as Token Collector remains on the field. For this type of effect on a card like this, especially being a hand trap, not like a card that you want to use going second, this is a card that you can use during your turn 0 to stop your opponent from going into their absurd combo plays that we have been seeing. This card is starting to see a surge in side deck play, even main deck play for some players, so just keep in mind that this card is starting to come up. The reason why it's number 9 is because it's relatively new. We don't know how far it's going to go, but I want to keep it on your guys' radar that Token Collector is out there. Now, coming in at number 8, we have Summon Limit. This is, I guess, the floodgate of choice, if you want to call it that, for the format. Not a lot of floodgates do too much because we are in such a combo-dominated format where most of the top decks are just aiming to combo off and hopefully just win through those means. So if you happen to be going first, this card can actually be a pretty decent contingency plan, because let's say you're attempting to combo off, your opponent disrupts you with a myriad of different hand traps, but you happen to have Summon Limit because it's game 2, you can just set Summon Limit and feel pretty good knowing that your opponent is going to be able to combo back, because Summon Limit restricts them to only 2 summons per turn. You can adapt your board to set up for the Summon Limit, so that way you're pretty much going to have either the biggest monster on the field, or in a way that you're able to just capitalize on that effect effect, you have the fact that if you're playing Eldritch, you can just send Summon Limit to the graveyard and then combo off again on your next turn. So there's so many different synergies for this card. A really powerful floodgate nonetheless, and definitely a card that a lot of players are flocking to going first. Now for number 7, we actually have Dark Ruler No More. It may seem a bit shocking that this card is so low on this list, but these decks have transcended the ability to lose to Dark Ruler No More, and even though they're just these heavy combo decks, that is how absurd these decks have become. If you're on Emancipator, you have to think they're gonna have Dweller that they can shotgun before you can even use Dark Ruler No More, which is a lingering effect. They might have you under Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, so you can't use your extra deck even if you do Dark Ruler No More. They also have Block Dragon to regenerate their resources, so again, even if you are able to Dark Ruler them, you still have to break their board, you probably have to play through Dweller, and you might have to deal with the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword lock regardless. And then against Eldritch, they're able to make Calamities, which again, another lingering effect that they can just shotgun, so it doesn't even matter if you have Dark Ruler. But beyond that, Eldritch has a half of their deck that doesn't even care about Dark Ruler No More because it's so focused on the control game and is just able to capitalize on the ability that it's like a half combo, half control deck. So Dark Ruler isn't even that effective. We've actually seen a lot of the top players starting to cut this card because of the fact that it isn't good enough. You have to play hand traps to stop these combos, because if the combo does end up resolving, you're 99% of the time going to lose that game. So as sad as it is to say, Dark Ruler is not good enough, but it is still a decent card if you're able to maybe slow them down with a single hand trap. Their board isn't as strong as it might be, and Dark Ruler, as well as the rest of your hand, might be able to clean things up rather well. So for number 6, I actually have a group of cards here that I'm going to call the Power 1-ofs. These are cards that are pretty much all limited that will see play in the side deck more often than not, because in the main deck they typically aren't too good. But we have cards like Pankratops, Mind Control, Red Reboot, Imperial Order. All 4 of these cards are good for their own specific reasons, whether you're going first or going second, but I felt that they were all worth mentioning because they all are seeing a substantial amount of play because they're all good at doing very specific things. Mind Control as well as Pankratops are good at going second, helping to kind of help equalize boards in their own way. Red Reboot is great because it's good at taking out a lot of the trap focused decks. It can be good against Eldritch, but also good against dealing against some of these other traps that you might see coming out of the sideboard games 2 and 3. And then Imperial Order is one of the most powerful floodgates ever made, being able to lock players out of using spell cards. Just an absolutely amazing card, and something you're definitely going to want to consider moving into this format. So we're halfway through, and now it's time for number 5. And for number 5, I've got Cosmic Cyclone. You can also kind of pair this with Twin Twister in terms of like generic spell and trap removal, which is just nice. It's good at counteracting all of these floodgates that people might be siding in against you. But Cosmic Cyclone definitely pulls ahead, specifically because Eldritch is in the metagame. Being able to banish those Eldritch cards is important, so that way they don't generate any advantage on the end phase of the turn or the following turn for that matter. You're also able to go after stuff like the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, which is really nice if you're trying to break that lock. It's also good for hitting specific cards that would trigger in the graveyard, but that way they're banished so that you're able to bypass that effect. 1,000 life points isn't really much, and it's perfectly okay, but Cosmic Cyclone is a card a lot of people are deviating to, but don't be too surprised if you also see some Twin Twisters in the mix as well. But coming in at number 4, we have another tie, because I feel both of these cards do kind of the same thing, but in their own unique way, and those cards are Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched. Both of these cards are seeing tons of play at the moment in the side deck. Lightning Storm being able to clean up attack position monsters or your opponent's entire back row. Evenly Matched can clear up everything except for a lone card most of the time. It also banishes, meaning it dodges any sort of graveyard advantage generation effects, which is nice. But the thing that you have to realize is that as powerful as these cards are, just by themselves, they don't really do enough. They have to be used in tandem with other cards, like say Dark Ruler No More, maybe a hand trap, to slow your opponent down, give you an opening to then level the playing field, build a board of your own, or just establish control so that you can take the game in your favor. These cards are very good, and while they may not be the strongest against the top decks, we've already discussed in length how Dark Ruler doesn't even do enough against some of these strategies. Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched kind of fall into that same category, but these cards are very good against the numerous rogue decks that you might be encountering in the online environment as well. These cards have always been good at just tearing apart those boards, and so for those reasons, for their pretty much vast utility and ubiquitousness across the board, that's why I put Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched in my number 4 slot. Now coming in at number 3, we've got a Pointer of the Red Lotus. This card is seeing tons of play for a very good reason. Since we're in such a combo heavy format, at least in terms of the top decks, a Pointer of the Red Lotus is very good if you know you are going first games 2 and 3. Then if you happen to draw it in addition to the rest of your combo, you can then set it, and then when your opponent starts their turn, you can flip a pointer, look at their hand, gain the knowledge of everything that they have, but also remove the best card that they have to either break your board or to establish a board of their very own. Keep in mind, even if they are able to stop you from assembling your own combo, a Pointer can take out the best combo starter in their hand, so that way they won't be able to get things going. They're going to have a lackluster board as well, then play is going to return back to you. Sure, they get the card back during the end phase, but it doesn't matter if you're then able to combo off again, also with the knowledge of your opponent's hand, so that you know that, oh, you don't have any hand traps? Guess what? I'm going to full combo no TK you, knowing there is nothing you can do about it. Hand knowledge is absolutely invaluable in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And for that reason, that's why a Pointer of the Red Lotus is not only seeing so much play, but also why it is this high on this list. Now coming in at number 2, we have Psy-Frame Gear Gamma. Gamma is one of the hand traps that is able to not only negate the effects of monsters, but also destroy the monster specifically to remove that threat from the field. If you're going up against Adamancipator, this is key because if they are able to have a single rock monster on the board, even if you negate the effect of that monster, because they have a rock, they're then able to special summon a lot of their other monsters, and then they're able to either use that as synchro material, as link material, and that's where the deck starts to get rolling. But Gamma being able to remove that threat is very key and can definitely throw a wrench into their plans. It's also good because not a lot of things can answer Gamma, right? It's immune to Call by the Grave because it doesn't go to the graveyard, it activates in the hand and stays there, so it's able to dodge a card like Call by the Grave, similar in line to a card like Infinite Impermanence, which is already seeing play in the main deck. A lot of people don't really like Gamma though if they're playing the top tier decks because they don't really have a lot of opportunities to use it, because as soon as they commit to a monster on the field, because remember they are combo decks, then if your opponent does have a hand trap, they're not going to be able to use that Gamma. That's why you're seeing it in the side deck for when you know you're going second, and then you're able to stop your opponent's plays and then capitalize and be able to build a board of your very own. Gamma's starting to see a huge surge in play, a very powerful hand trap, one of the most powerful in the game. You have to play the driver, but it's honestly worth it for the value that Psy-Frame Gear Gamma provides. And that's going to bring us to my number 1 side deck card of the May 2020 format, and frankly, if you're not already playing this in your main deck, it 100% better be in your side deck, and that's why I picked it, Nibiru the Primal Being. Nibiru is one of the ultimate equalizers for going up against the combo Eldritch deck specifically, or any deck that is attempting to incorporate any sort of needle fiber combo into their deck, because you're able to shatter their board. Sure, they get the token, but it typically doesn't matter because their combo is in shambles, and then they won't really have much follow-up unless you're going up against Adamancipator, but we'll talk about that in a little bit, and that is why you're seeing Nibiru moved back into a myriad of different main decks. Adamancipator is a little bit iffy because they are able to not only hit stuff like Quacky Mirror Guardian off of a Lucky Excavation, but they're also able to assemble boards that don't really care about Nibiru. It also doesn't help that the Nibiru token is a rock, so then you're able to keep capitalizing off of that anyway. Nibiru can be good though to slow the deck down enough, especially if they don't think that you're on it, because if so, their board may not be as menacing as it would be otherwise, giving you a window of opportunity to be able to take the game back. Nibiru pretty much is almost mandatory in the main deck, but I wanted to make it my number 1 pick for the side deck because it pretty much is a must play in this current format and probably will be for the weeks to come. But guys, that's gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about any of your other top picks for the side deck. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video helpful, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member. Just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.